Any thoughts?
Maybe a privacy issue.
Yeah, that could be an issue. That's a problem. And Matt, do you have other ideas?
It probably turns out that like poor people would have to spend more.
Yeah, yeah,
than rich people. So
yeah. And maybe the marginal utility of wealth for those people is higher. So yeah, I mean, one way you could think about it is that people who buy insurance because they don't want to go bankrupt if they get sick. Now, in the US, we don't have very long-term insurance, right? You get insured by your employer, and if you lose your job, maybe because you get cancer, then you're totally screwed, right? You've lost your job, you've got cancer. What do you do at that point, right? Now, if we allow people to discriminate based on pre-existing conditions, what happens? You get cancer, you lose your job, and then they're allowed to charge you the full cost to you of treating your cancer, right? That sort of defeats the whole purpose of insurance, doesn't it? Right? The whole point of insurance was that if you got really sick, you would be covered. And now you're like completely screwed because you got sick, right? So we might not want to let firms discriminate because the whole point of insurance is to deal with that issue, right? Okay. So I actually finished way early. So why don't you guys ask me questions about the midterm if you have any. The midterm is on Tuesday, by the way. It will be in class. It will last. Does anyone need to go to a class immediately after? Okay, no one? Okay, so then I'll let it go for an hour and a half. The first 10 minutes, you will have to just read through the exam and choose which things to answer, right? And then for an hour and 20, you'll be able to write. It will have 5 true-false uncertains, 2 short answers, 1 set of qualitative questions, and 1 set of quantitative, like short questions. It'll be, in other words, very, very similar to your problem sets. And I think it'll be somewhat easier because it'll be sort of building off the things. But as you know, the problem sets take you a lot longer than an hour and a half. So it'll be a test of how quickly you can get all that stuff down. Yeah.
Will we cover all the material up to today?
Yeah. Yep. And so as I mentioned, I think before you came in, you should look at the solutions to last year's midterm and at the solutions to the 40501/24210 midterm, because those will sort of help you on the questions that are related to the monopoly and regulation material. Yeah?
Will we be required to be pulling up data from online?
No. Yeah, I mean, there will be some calculations, but there won't be any data-based stuff. Yeah?
Are we allowed to do stuff on the computer while in that
Absolutely.
period?
Yeah, you have.
In the
Oh.
first time period?
Yeah. I would strongly recommend you don't. I don't think I'm really going to be able to be monitoring that. You're not allowed to be writing. I think we can monitor that, and I'd prefer that you. I mean, yeah, you can't send messages back and forth. By the way, all you can do is you can look on internet. You can do anything. Totally open book, totally open computer. But I would recommend that during those first 10 minutes, you really decide which questions you're going to answer, because if you answer a few questions well, you're going to do a lot better than if you answer a lot of questions poorly. The average on last year's midterm, and I don't think it'll be low this year, was 17. So seriously, like if you just like find like 4 questions or 5 questions, 4 things that you can like answer well, you're going to do really well in the exam. Yeah.
Are we allowed to look up like the solutions to last year's midterm?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
For the first part, we take notes while during the reading period.
Yeah. Well, yes, that's fine, but I strongly do not recommend like writing and then like recopying later, because that's going to waste a lot of your time. So this like first 10 minutes is just me being paternalistic. Like I really think that's in your intro. Yeah, Jeff.
What is like the rough point breakdown like, for the different sections?
It's just like on your problem set. So I think it's 5 points for each of the true, false, uncertains. There will be one short answer that's 10, one short answer that's 15 points. Then I think the quantitative section has 3 quantitative problems that are like similar in difficulty to the quantitative problems on yours. You get 10 points for each of those. And then the qualitative problems, I think those have 20 points in total. I think there's like 4 of them, so you get 5 points for each of those. Okay. Oh yeah, David.
We're allowed to bring all sorts of like papers and books.
Bring whatever the hell you want to bring.
They got this policy
And
on
God
last-
bless you.
They got this policy on last year's midterm and still got an average of 17?
Yeah. No, but that was a lot harder. That was a lot harder than we were going to get. Like there was a question about heroin on that one.
Yeah.
What was the highest score on last year's midterm?
40.
Oh,
Tax.
way to ruin the curve.
48 maybe. 43. Yeah.
Are you grading them?
Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to sit down with Hansi, and I'm going to grade like 2 or 3 of them, randomly selected, to show him like the spirit in which I want the exam graded, and then he's going to grade the rest. Yeah.
For the true, false, uncertain, are you looking for like the right, like true, false, or uncertain answer, or like is it just about like how you describe it? Or is it something else?
I have an answer in mind, which involves an answer to that and a description. I think that's the easiest answer to get full credit on, because I know that there's a coherent economic analysis that can be given in that direction. If you give an equally coherent economic analysis in another direction, you will get full credit. However, trying to come up with such a coherent economic analysis in the course of an hour and 20-minute exam is probably not highly likely. So it's sort of like, you know, if you were to get a question which is like, you know, does unemployment increase when you increase the money supply, you might well come up with like a model that's really coherent under which, in fact, unemployment does increase when you increase the money supply. However, it's probably a better idea, and that would get full credit. But, you know, on the other hand, it's probably a lot easier just to give like the standard correct answer, you know, so. Yeah.
What I meant to ask with my previous question
Yeah.
was, do you think that this will be graded harsher than the problem sets or similarly?
I don't know really how harshly Hansi has been grading the problem sets. So it's a little hard for me to tell. I would guess it's going to be similar. Last year, when I graded the final, and I went back and looked at the midterms, I think I was slightly more generous, but not significantly. But look, it's all curved. I mean, everything's going to be curved. When you get back your exam, you'll get back both your score on the exam and your overall score so far, and then there will be like grade cutoffs associated with those, so you'll have a sense of where you are. And I think the distribution in this class will be pretty much exactly the same as the distribution I gave last year. So, yeah.
Just wondering, do you remember what's the average on the first street problems that's lesson?
I could look that up.
Just wondering if it's significantly lower.
I think it was somewhere on the order of half of the average on your guys' problem set.
That's a good part.
Yeah. But I mean, it probably wasn't quite half, but it was something like that. Yeah.
I had a question on the other side.
Yeah.
talked about the data they got from the aluminum.
From the what?
From the aluminum manufacturer.
Yeah.
They said they let them choose the premium and the high.
Yeah.
What's the cost right now for like the individual people? Like from the this seems like
The individual managers, you mean? Yeah. Well, exactly. That was an objection that I had to this paper. Was there must have been some reason, and that would have broken the identification strategy. But,
it's like the perfect like
exactly. Yeah, I don't know.